Hello and welcome to another live demonstration. So still in the festive spirit, and I have a really lovely portrait of Steve in his Christmas finery. He actually got dressed up for this, well, was dressed up for this, and I don't think he looks in too much distress. He's absolutely beautiful, and I've had plenty of cuddles from Steve. So I'm using UART sanded paper. So this is a very grippy paper. I'm using the 600. So the UART come in two colours. You've got your dark, which is a black towards grey, depending on your grade, and sanded. It comes in different grades, from 200, which is quite sandpaper, you know, that bitty sandpaper, right up to 800, which has a much smoother surface. I've got one grade down from that. It's the 600. So it's smooth, but a little bit rough, and I think it works lovely with the pastel pencils I'm going to be using. And for this, I do have sometimes more than one pastel pencil of some colours. So white, I will have more than one because I can keep one nice and sharp, and one a little bit more blunt, and I don't have to spend a lot of time sharpening some of the sharper ones. And again, you'll see they're not overly sharp. I may sharpen them, or I'm not a big fan of a very sharp pencil because it tends to crumble, and I find I can get the detail just applying different pressures. But I will have, so this is all the white, and I have some more sharp than others, and because I like also a blunt to be able to fill in that initial layers. So that's what I'm going to start with first, with the white, and I'm going to try and work this way. Doesn't mean I will, but it means I then won't be leaning on my page. I have erasers, which I can take off this surface because it is really tough. It means I can really rub any areas which are smudged or I don't like, and just take it back. So going to start off with the white, his white pom-pom. I'm just going round in the same direction of the pom-pom. So you can see all those individual strands of wool. And I've put the first layer down. Now you're not supposed to do this. Tip your paper and tap it off, but because my paper's taped down for a couple of reasons. Firstly, UART and some sanded papers tend to bow. You can see that bows. That's fairly normal. It's because one side is coated and it just makes it bow a little. But as you can see, taping it down flattens it. So it will be no problem when you put it in the frame. It flattens down nicely. That's one reason why I've got this taped down, so with filming and everything, it doesn't bow. So, next colour. I might do a grey. So I'm just going to pick up some of these highlights and strands. And now that's quite strong for now, but I can go back. It's just giving me a bit of direction, taking away that glaringly scary first marks and no colour on. So again, just go back in, soften that grey. Now, I can use a stump to blend, but for me, I find on this paper, just layers tend to blend itself. So this is a ivory colour, and that just gives me a little less white. And you can see why I'm starting over in this direction, because I'm leaning on the pages as it is. I'm just trying to get rid of that harsh graphite line I have around the edge of this. Okay. So you can now come back in, keep working. The great thing about pastel pencils is you can keep working, keep going over, keep adding to. Let's go back in with this grey. I want to give it some direction, just a little bit. I'm very lightly touching, and look how it's grabbing the colour already. Very lightly, because I want a fine line. Now down here's a little darker, because it's in shadow, so I'm going to bring those highlights out. You can see, even now, getting some of the individual strands of wool in the pom-pom. So a little darker down here, so a bit more grey. Just maybe in the middle, let's give it a bit more direction. Back with the white, still quite blunt, much harder on top. Picking up this highlight at the top. Okay. That will do for now. I think that looks like a pom-pom. I can always go back in, but sometimes it's worth moving on quite quickly. So doing the green bits, so I need some greens and a bit of black. I do find I like to use black or this very dark grey in order to get the tonal values, and I will use black. Black sometimes seems a little harsh, but you can tone it down very easily by putting colours on top. So let me just put an initial lay down of colour. And pastel can seem quite scruffy at first. You're just literally laying down colour. It's not the exact colour in the photo, but this is quite a nice bright green. Right, now I'm going to put a darker green on. You'll notice again I'm not keeping my pastels very sharp at the moment. And this has a little bit of texture. It looks like a soft, fluffy fabric with tiny you can see some direction of the fabric. So I'm going to use that just because it will help add different tonal textures to the piece. So nice long strands here, a fabric-y kind of texture compared to the fur. So putting the black on does look quite harsh. Just looking at where the shadows are in the folds of the fabric. I might need a bit there. You can see gently on top, and definitely there's a nice fold there. So it still looks very scruffy, very unfinished, but it's actually quite satisfying how quickly it comes together. So let's put green on there, and this is what I mean by blending and softening that black. I may put a few layers on, but that's much less harsh. It's quite a scrapey noise because it's gripping. So soften that a bit more. A darker green. Just going to add some more colour. Right, again, still looks scruffy because I want to use the white to blend it. To pick up some nice highlights. You can see there now how that's just giving you some much softer marks and tonal values, but just going on top. White is a really useful pastel, and I have usually many. I have 3 in me, or is it 4? I might have 4 whites. I think that's ivory. But I have a lot of white because you use it quite often for lots of different marks. I will use it at the end to bring back the highlights, but at the moment I'm using it for a blending technique. Like I say, you can blend this with your finger or with a stump, but I find it's, for me, I like to blend with the colours. Let's take that dark, harsh shadow. I've got to blow. Excuse me. Like I say, it is better to tip and not blow because the pastel dust doesn't want to be going in your lungs. But a good sharp puff of air away is absolutely fine. Back with the, let's try this grey. See if I can. And I tend to also do very soft circular marks when I'm filling in an area. Okay. Green. Green. And I think I need some white. This tends to bring it together, so just nicely bring out some of the green on here, a bit of white up here. Soften this a little bit so it's less scruffy. And it's quite light round here as well. Into here. Greener up there. Like I say, you can see how you do keep working, keep going over until you've got it how you want it. Don't like that bit there, so let's let's look at the shape. The shape here. Just taking the light over. Pick up some green. With pastels, you do tend to have a lot more colours because you can't mix as easily as you would do with a paint. So you tend to have about 5 different greens rather than mixing your own. But you can see, just taking that up a little bit, need that higher. Go, that's better. Back in with the white, let's just bring out some of these light areas. come back to that because I want to go in to the face. And you go back in, you go back to your areas. Now, I'm just going to put a very quick layer of, I think this is an ochre. Look at all these lovely, I don't want to call them wrinkles, expression lines. I'm going into the areas which look dark as well. And you'll see I'm kind of following the direction of his fur. It does help me to plot some of what I'm doing. I'm plotting where the colour in the face is. Going in with a brown just to make sure I don't lose some of his facial expression and his beautiful little lines. Just add to his character. So Steve is a Puggle, which is a cross between a beagle and a pug. So he has slightly longer legs than you would get in a pug. So he stands quite tall. But he is lovely and that's all he wants to do with cuddles. And he has joined us on numerous Zoom meetings in person. Well, to be honest, he's been really good. And what's funny is, you know he's there, but he's either sitting on Nikki's knee, just here, just under, and she'll put the camera down and you'll see him there, or he's literally sitting next to her watching her, literally turn the camera and he's there. But we've all had visits from our pets on Zoom meetings. It's quite, you kind of just carry on as if nothing is happening. Nothing to see here. Okay. So this is an ivory. It will soften some of this very dark lines I have and give that another layer of pastel and a nice sandy colour of the fur. So layering. Okay. Lots of layering. Tip these round. I think I've got a... So I'm going to move the greens out to one side for the minute because I'm not using them. And bring in the browns, the greys. And I'm turning them all round because I can then see the colours. The ends are quite good. They give me an idea, but it's really the core that gives me a really much more accurate idea of the colour I'm putting on. Just soft, very lightly adding colour. Just following the lines. Now he's a short-haired dog. Missed the nose. So the fur's quite easy. I don't have to worry about kinks or curls. I am just following the direction though, because it comes out here. Comes up. Very short strokes. Just catching the surface. And yes, it's not quite the right colour at the moment, but I will bring that in. Okay. So back in with the ivory, using this as a blender. Just to take down that harsher orange colour. Again, softening. And the reason I've put these lines on first is I do tend to lose them, so it's nice to just have a suggestion of them there and be able to work over them. Right, I'm going to go in for the eyes, and I know some people don't put the eyes on straight away. They leave them to last. I like to put the eyes on because it just then radiates out from there. So I'm using the black and the grey. He's got these wonderful big chocolate eyes that look really dark in his face. And you'll also see there's very dark around the eye, and I can start to pick that up. Lovely big pug eyes. Just using the grey to outline, pick up some of the detail of the eye, because the eye is not just one big black bead. There are some other colours in there. Now I'm just picking up the highlights, and I'm going around the highlights, even though I can go over with white, because black's quite a strong colour. If I'm not left areas, I do find that it becomes grey, because I pick up a lot of the black. So just picking up and leaving the highlights, just going around them. Okay. Look at that. There we go. Steve is starting to come to life. I'm going to work and get his eyes right. It's better. And now he has used the dark. I've got the grey in my hand there. Let's just pick up the much darker areas around his eye. That's a key feature of the pug's face. These much darker areas, and here. Using the grey to plot where I can see it's quite dark, rather than going in with the black at the moment. And the same here, let's go onto his muzzle, it's much darker. Radiates out here, darker. There's a nice wrinkle here, which I've missed putting in. I've lost that one a bit, let's put that back on. Let's go in. His eyes stand out. Using the black just very lightly to start to bring out where the darker areas are. Brown. That one. Do tend to hold a number of pencils in my hand. So I need to darken that. It's much easier to go back in and darken than it is to lighten. So bring that round now. Put his nose on. Again, I'm not filling it in solidly yet, because then it would just be a very black, matte nose, and I want to give it a little bit of shine as well. So now in with the grey and blending that black. Back in with the black, bring out the nose. And now I can definitely dark over there. You can see as I'm drawing how, even though he's got a black nose, I need it to stand out against his black muzzle. So I am just going to put a bit of colour in here. Grey. Just going to go around with the black. So this is the darkest area here, where his mouth is. He's got a gap there. Again, it's not, it's got a little kink there. It's still not detailed. This is still one layer. It doesn't mean I can't have lots more layers to go on. Just trying to get it down as quickly as I can. It's very dark. To the chin. Putting the black on now, and into there, and then I'll use another so it is quite difficult to try and distinguish between the very dark areas in the muzzle without just making it all very black. So colours have I got? Some of this brown. I'm picking up colours which are possibly not as evident on the photo. So photos do tend to change something. With the grey now. And change the colours, so it is useful to use a photograph, but also if you can look at the colours and take it from different angles, because you can then pick out the really nice colours that you like to use. So this is flat, right? Yes. Put another layer on, and you can see I'm just building up. His muzzle. Lightly creating marks, and here it goes up. There's a fold across his nose, which again is dark. But there are some lighter areas showing through. It's darker here. It's actually quite smooth here compared to further down. Across his nose. It's quite dark. So he is starting to come together. His eyes slightly off. Where's my back? Go back in with that black. Bring out a little bit of highlight. And on the nose, let's pick up. Right, chin again is going to be dark, so I think just here is a bit lighter. I've got a light grey, where's that? There. Lip. Put in I will go over in the black at the end just to bring out some of these areas I've lost. Over. Bring out his little beard. Definitely much darker under here. once I've got the face looking how I want it as much as possible, I can then quickly go in with the rest of the colour. Just darken this under here because it's under the bubble. And let me do, see, I've smudged. This is why I'm using UART paper, because I can do this. Really easily. Just take it back off. Okay. Grey. So, have a look at his ear. I think he's starting to come together. Let's pick up the edge here. A bit light. And he's got a bit of light in here. Okay, let's do some dark brown. Again, he has a little bit of light in there. Right, and with the black. So I put some colour layers down first because the black is quite harsh, and it means I can just gently bring out much darker layers over those lighter ones. So it's quite dark under here, but there's lots of other colours inside. And his ear needs to come round a little bit more. Okay. Catch the out. Catch along this edge, but you can see I'm not colouring it all in, not putting all black all over. Just soften that a bit more. It's definitely much darker in here because that's where the darkest area is. So all those colours in that ear, it's kind of brought it all together. Just darken a bit more because it's a bit too light. So the grey is a lovely, same as I use the ivory, the grey is a lovely colour to soften. Pick up some little marks. And I've not sharpened my pencils yet. Maybe I should. I tend to use them blunt for the stage. So right, let's just look at the shape of his ear. Comes out a little bit more there. It's given that a little bit more character. Okay, I'm going to go in now with a little bit more defining. It's not the colour I want, that's the colour I want. Got a line that comes down here. It's got a lovely line that comes over here. This is a lot darker. So let's put some dark layers on. Actually, I think that comes right down here. Again, nice short little strokes to bring out the short hair quality. Back in again. Just to soften those. Definitely needs some more depth in the eye, but I'm going to pick up the rest and move on, because this shouldn't take too long. Oh, I'm messy. Let's see if I can get good old UART paper. Perfect for me, who's a messy person when it comes to drawing. I do have crystal paper, but I tend to forget to use it, or I forget to lean on it anyway, so it's oh, that was quick. It's not quite finished, but I can now definitely darker under here. And there's a lovely brown. Definitely much darker on this side, so that's given me some lovely tonal value. Just bring it round under his chin, because there's some more folds here. Still looks that messy. Kind of marks, but go in now with the white. Just pick out. See how that really just brings out some of those lovely highlights. So I'm going to now work with the ivory and the white. Some lovely longer marks here. So with the white. It seems to be a balance between getting the dark marks and the light marks as you see them. Definitely light is catching just there. So catch. It needs to be darker. That needs to be darker. nice and light on this side. Turning my pastel pencil as I go, just to keep the lights, the point, sorry. Blending in all the colours so I'm not left with just line. Like I say, I could spend hours doing this, but I haven't got hours, so I'm going to get as much done as I possibly can for you in the next, let's say, 10 minutes. Right, red. It's got it's red. And he also has some, I think he's kind of got a bow. Pick up the, if I do it as I go along, I can see green there, red there, green there. So that bit's red, that's green, that's red. Red. That's green, that's got to be red. It's a kind of a candy stripe going on here.
Anita,
Yes.
I think they're the little fake arms of his.
Oh yeah, he's
outfit.
this. I've cropped it, so I think he's got an elf costume on. So, right, red. And these, like Gary says, they're possibly little arms because they move as the dog moves. You can see now, once you've got through the fluffing and faffing of getting the character of the face, actually the rest of it can come together quite quickly. I can't fully see what's going on, so I'm going to have to suggest. Okay, I know he's got a green. So that's green there. And I think it comes up green. Got a dark green, so I can put some tonal values in. Rather than just using black, I'm just going to use a darker green at the moment. So, because these red, I don't know what they are, they're decoration, pointy bits, are above the green, so they stick out. They be dark underneath. Okay. Don't know what that is there, so I'm going to have to suggest. And some white, so there we go, Christmassy. Got a dark red, again for some tonal value. Plus for sharpening. It's better. See just now, a little bit of tonal value really changes things. makes it less flat. And a little bit of grey in here, gently. Bit of shading. And dark grey. Because it is under the curl of his fur, I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Not all the way around, because the light, it does seem to be hitting from this side. And let's catch just a touch of, look at this, Anita is messy. Right, nearly there. I just want to add a few more details. I'm not completely happy with the face yet. And like I say, I could spend hours, but I haven't got hours. I just want to, now working with my nice sharper white, really just look at areas that may need a bit more. So let's start working my way around. I want to pick up a little bit more light on here. Because I think sometimes it's just these tiny touches that bring it all together. Really look at the direction and maybe bring out a few more highlights and darkens. So this is now the time when you can probably going to use just a couple of colours, which are the black, the grey and the white. Really work on these eyes. Darken this a little bit more. Definitely darken here. Darken under here. Right, last thing, I must remember to put his whiskers on. I do tend to forget whiskers sometimes. A little bit of light on the nose. Push that in. I'm going to put a bit there because his mouth will be wet. Bit of dotting. Pick up a few greyer hairs. A few just see how that suddenly, adding these little marks, just takes that to another level, and that's what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to put his whiskers on. Done enough. Fluffing. Take the fur over. That's it. I think he's a bit scruffy. And whiskers are my last thing to put on. I'm using a plastic eraser for this because I know it will take it, but for some of the little details around here, this is a Tombow eraser. I have to be careful not to touch. Pushing hard. And I can drop a lot of that off by tapping it. Okay, last thing. These are the fun bit. Whiskers. And there's whiskers coming out there. He has whiskers. And just do some more jowly bits. There you go. I'm going to have to stop as much as I really, really want to keep going. I think it's time. So I hope you enjoyed that. And this is Steve the Puggle using the Faber Castell Pit pastel pencils. I find these a little bit softer as some of the others, which I like to use. And I hope you enjoyed that and enjoyed Steve in all his finery. So join me again next week for another live demonstration.